वर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सिन्दूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यां मलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम्। ॐ ध्यायेन्नित्यं महेशं रजतगिरिनिभं चारुचन्द्रावतंसं रत्नाकल्पोज्ज्वलाङ्गं परशुमृगवराभीतिहस्तं प्रसन्नं पद्मासीनं समन्तात् स्तुतममरगणैः व्याघ्रकृत्तिं वसानं विश्वाद्यं विश्वबीजं निखिलभयहरं पञ्चवक्त्रं त्रिनेत्रम्। ॐ नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्।
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किम कुर्वत सञ्जय। श्रीभगवानुवाच क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वयुपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्योत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धि मा स्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि। प्रकृतिः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते। इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेतौ यस्य परिपन्थिनौ। अर्जुन उवाच अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः। श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुणसमुद्भवः महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्धेनम् इह वैरिणम्। धूमेनाव्रियते वह्नि यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदमावृतम्। तस्मात् त्वम् इन्द्रियाण्यादौ नियम्य भरतर्षभ पाप्मानं प्रजहीयेनं ज्ञानविज्ञाननाशनम्। इन्द्रियाणि पराण्याहुः इन्द्रियेभ्यः परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः यो बुद्धेः परतस्तु सः एवं बुद्धिः परं बुद्ध्वा संस्तभ्यात्ममात्मना जहि शत्रुं महाबाहो कामरूपं दुरासदम्.
Very nice. Thank you, Pranav. So we are 6:14. Is that right?
13.
13. So meanwhile, any let me start first by any comments or questions on 6:1 to 13 that we read so far. This was concise description of yoga so far, right?
जी.
Starting from 10, 11, 12, आसन कैसे करना है, then एकाग्रता, and then 13. So let us read. So 12 was, just to give the context, 10 say, yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigrahah. So we talked about yama niyama here itself, aparigraha coming from those. And then शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरम् आसनमात्मनः न अत्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिन कुशोत्तरं तत्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्जात् योगम् आत्मविशुद्धये. So that is also clear. समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन् अचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशस्वान अवलोकयन्. Dishaschana, right? Cha, yeah, I was not sure it's word. Dishascha anavalokayan, right?
जी.
That makes sense. That is not gazing in the directions. Luch, lok, right, is to look. Avalokan is seeing. Anavalokan is not seeing. Dishaha, directions, and directions not looking at. That seems reasonable. Acha. And in fact, the commentary goes, Dishancha avalokanam antara akurvan iti etat. Okay. So this is important. Samam the body, neck, and head and neck evenly, steadily. Samam kaya shirogrivam, kayascha shirascha griva, cha kaya shirogrivam. Mainly because this nadi of sushumna passing vertically upwards is the one through which this energy, when flowing upwards, leads to the blessed state. So therefore in the stages when that Shakti Chalanam is happening, this is very crucial. Sampreksha Nasika. And again, I mentioned this Nasika Agram is looking with the inward eye, right? Because when we close the physical eye, the inner eye itself has a notion of where the body is. We call that proprioception, right? So, and when within the inner eye one conceives the various locations of the body, that is where the chakras are seen and the nadis, right? So therefore, this direction is telling us where to focus the mental energy and the pranic energy simultaneously will arrive there. Because wherever the mind goes, the pranas go there, right? So, samamiti, the body, head and neck, holding these three evenly and steadily. There may be movement in spite of even holding, right? To exclude it is added the qualification steadily. Resolute, becoming resolute, fixing the gaze on, etc. Understand this to mean looking at the tip, as it were. As it were. That's why it is not meant to be taken literally. Bhagavan, beautiful. The next sentence says, what is sought to be enjoined is not the gazing at the tip of the nose. See, this is beautiful, Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya's thing. Rather, it is the convergence of sight. So, one should not try to get a bad squint by doing this. This sight depends on the concentration of the inner sense. This is exactly what I said, right? It's the inward. Where the gaze at the tip of the nose sought to be enjoined, the result would be mind's concentration thereon and not on the self. In 625, what will be enjoined is concentration on the self, the centering of the mind on the self. So by the expression, as it were, implicit in this context, what is affirmed is the convergence of sight. Not looking around means not looking in various directions every now and then. And this is again actually at the very subtle level of the inner eye. Obviously, you're not, if the eyes are closed, the outer eye is not looking here and there, correct? Right. How can you make the inner eye not look around? Now, when you say traditionally a mantram, there is a very procedure to say a mantram. First, you have to declare what the mantram is. So, suppose you say, this is the mantra. Asya Sri, this is the mantra, right? Name of the mantra, whether it be Aditya Hridaya Stotram or Surya Namaskara, right? Then you must invoke the Rishi of the mantra, right?
Ji.
Because Rishi is the one who first saw this mantra with the inner eye, correct? Without invoking that Rishi's grace, the true meaning of the mantra will not be known, right? So, next. Then the chandas in which the mantra is said. The chandas is the meter. It's the metrical pulsation of the prana along with which go the words, and that produces a mantra. And that is gives the mantra its balam. It is both the sequencing of the prana and the words themselves that gives the mantra its balam. This is not there in the other languages. And this is something that is very difficult for a non-meditator or someone who has not been experienced the power of mantra balam to understand this, right? We may all have our affiliation to your regional languages, undoubtedly, right? And they're beautiful. It is a part of the limited identity of the jiva, right? But if you want to transcend that limited identity, then you must go to the mother of all languages, right? Not only the mother of all languages, the mother of all creation. See, this is not a joke. When in our Hindu and Vedic tradition, we say that in the Om is all creation. Okay, this is not a joke. First of all, you know that the Swara, we say Swara Vyanjan. The Swara are actually the life. They are the vowels, the syllables of the alphabet with pran in them. The Vyanjan are actually inert. Because until the Swar mixes with the Vyanjan, you don't get a word. Correct? Right? And so through this combination, the entire creation is collected in it. Because our Upanishad says that all the phenomenal world we can condense into Nam and Rup. If there is no Nam, there is no world. Right? So it is only through the association of the letters, through words, that we form our concept of everything that exists. If those words were not there, there would be no human experience would be very different. It will actually collapse. Right? So this is a very powerful understanding of our rishis. So anyway, coming back, Rishi Chandas, right? Then we say, who is the Devata? Hmm? Then there is a, typically this is actually a tantric this thing. There will be specific mantras. There will be Bijam, Kilakam, Shakti, and with them go mudras to invoke the Shakti. Hmm? Then typically what we do is Anganyasam, Karanyasam. Anganyasam and Karanyasam. These are both cleansing and also activating the hands and body. So typically, depending on the mantra, it will come mantra Angushtabhyam Namaha, Tarjanibhyam Namaha, etc. Right? Karatala Karaprishthabhyam Namaha. Hridayam Namaha, Shirashre Swaha. Then you get Shikhaya, Netatrayahum, Straya Phat. Then you come Bhur Bhuva Suva. And then Digbandhaha. Digbandhaha is when, these are the 8 directions. Right? When you do the Digbandha, you close the mind. Mm-hmm. Then it starts Dhyanam. Then there will be a Dhyana mantra. This is how you enter that powerful place. Right? This Digbandha has to be done. That is what is meant here. Dishascha na anavalokaya. If your mind is stupidly going in all the directions, if you've not controlled that sense, all kinds of stupid sounds, you will not be able to perform this dhyanam. So this dhyanam is intrinsic to our shloka, stotra, mantra chanting. Right? So you first invoke in the order, because otherwise at 9 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whenever, in the midst of, there will be some, if you're living in samsar, there'll be some ringing of a bell, somebody will be making auto honking outside, somebody saying, let's have breakfast ready, home, everything has to get ready. This chatter, this ridiculous temporal nonsense will kill your mind. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
We get caught up in this stupid 100 years at most of human life. These rishis have been from time immemorial. So when you invoke the rishi, it should open your mind to the fact that this is an insignificant blip in the cosmos, right? This jiva, this entire lifespan, these people I've attached myself to is an imperceptible blip in the cosmos, right? There were forms of this consciousness so much greater that their entire scope and span was vastly greater in time and space, right? And they recognized their divinity in this form, right? And they are giving me an access to this divinity. They are giving me the key to open the door to this divinity. Kilakam means key, right? So when we say even the mantra jap, whatever mantra you do, say Surya Namaskar, right? When you do this Anganyasam, Karanyasam, and this thing, and then you say Dhyanam, at that point the mind should be like on the anvil. So whatever is struck there, the mantra is the only thing the mind should see, nothing else. They should be unwavering. That is the anvil, Kutastha, right? So every time the mantra rings in the mind, it should be only that, nothing else, exclusion of everything else, right? That's what he's saying here. That this yoga is a preparation for that state. So, prashantatma vigata bhihi brahmachari vrate sthitaha manas sanyamya machitto yukta asita matparaha. Prashantatma vigata bhihi. Prashanta is tranquil mind, inner sense tranquilized. Vigata bhihi, afraid, unafraid. Brahmachari vrate sthitaha. Brahmachari is the vow of chastity, non-indulgence in sexual activity, thoughts. With that vrata having taken and established in manaha, mind, sanyamya, having control, machitto, thoughts anchored in me, yukta, yoked, integrated, asita, matparaha, entirely intent on me, should sit intent on me. Now, what is this whole, why do we need this notion of God itself, right? Why is this notion of Sri Krishna, right? It is mainly to just help us transcend the temporal, right? The very concept that there is this eternal being, correct? It gives us something to anchor onto, right? Without that, it is not possible to tear the veil of Maya, right? Because it is very entrancing, right? That's why the concept of the Lord is so important. Now, uh, Prashantatma. So, again and again we saw it, prasadam adhigacchati. This peace is the highest thing. When the mental fluctuations come to rest, even if it comes for an instant, that itself is very valuable. Actually, to get an instant of mental rest, to really bring the mind to a stop, is very hard. With that state. Vigata bhihi. Now, when this business of Shakti Chalana is commenced, this Kundalini Shakti, who is lying sleeping at the base of the Muladhara, when she is awakened, the first chakra that is opened is the Muladhara. Now, this Muladhara chakra is the seat of many things. It is the very seat of our physical existence. That's why it is called Mula Adhar, right? And it is also the non-opening of that chakra, or the lack of clarity in that flower, in that Padma, is connected to our fear of loss of the physical body. So whenever we have fear of loss of the physical body, it corresponds to some blockage or lack of clarity in that chakra. So the one who has accomplished the Shakti Chalana successfully has now lost that fear of losing the body. That's why Vigata Bhihi, right? And this is a difficult kind of state to first imagine, and to also difficult to comprehend the speech and thoughts of one who has conquered that fear, right? Because most people have it, right? So the way that one, um, once that is broken, that fear is no longer there, um, is very difficult to understand. That person may not have your normal sympathy for death and dying. One should not misunderstand that, but that's a consequence of it, right? It's kind of very simple. Um, let me give you an example. Um, suppose we are all sitting in a in a in a room, and there is a door, and one person knows the combination, types a combination, and leaves the room, right? And comes back in. Okay. Now, for everybody else is terrified of leaving the room, right? Because they don't know what's outside. Correct. All they know is what they've seen. They've been born in the room. They've never left the room. The room is there secure. It is all they know, right? The person who goes out and comes back says, no problem. You just go outside. There's nothing to fear. Okay, nothing will happen. This is the state of our human existence. We are terrified of leaving this look because this is all that we have seen, right? It seems secure, the senses, the normal, thing. But the sad thing is, everybody has a clock ticking the moment they come into the room. That's all the time allotted, right? However much we maybe cling to it and deny the fear, the truth is there is going to come a day when you have to leave the room, whether you know the code or not, right? Yeah. Somebody's going to pull you out, right? You don't have a choice in that. Okay. So therefore, the wise, what they do is they take refuge in the sayings of those who have left the room and re-entered. Right? They say, well, what refuge? Then the wisdom of the rishis, the wisdom of um, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the wisdom of the yogis, the wisdom of Adinath, Shivji, through all the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Yoga Sutra, all this becomes um, appealing. It becomes clear. It says, okay, if this indeed is the state, the wise, such as you, have faith in that. You say, this is true. There's nothing contradictory with this. I've entered this space. I know I have a ticking clock, and there is only a certain time limit on. I don't know exactly when the alarm will ring. I don't know, right? Okay, that's okay. But we know it will ring sometime. So the wise person starts to take the necessary steps to make the time in the room productive of that particular entry, that particular innings, right? Because if that is not made productive, the wise also tell us, you'll enter another room, right? You can also say there are two doors out of this room. One door is the door of non-re-entry. The other is the door of re-entry. So if you do not betake yourself to the practices, you'll be forcibly taken out of the room of re-entry and put back in another room. Same thing starts again. But the beautiful thing that the Lord assures us is that every effort you take in each room is productive. It's like a non-depleting bank account. Today, if you do one puja, you do one dhyan, you do one archana, that adds up and it never decreases, right? That which is done with true faith and devotion continues to add up. So that in the new room, you pick up where you left off. Okay. It's not a decrement. Right? So today you're having this wisdom to read all this because of stuff that you've done in your past lives. Right. That's why, as compared to another person who may not be interested in these things at this point, right? This also Bhagavan will explain to us. So this beautiful cumulative account is uh, merely something that is helping on the way. So Vigata Bhihi, so no fear, right? Why also Vigata Bhihi? Once the true understanding and faith comes inside that there is a divine in me, right? The divine is eternal, right? Okay. So at least you can say one part of me is eternal, right? Correct. So then there should be no fear. If that faith is very firm, there is a part of me that is eternal. It's not the body, right? It's not the mind. It's not my senses, but the true I is eternal, right? So that part will never, if that faith is itself, just that one simple faith is very strong, there'll be no fear, right? And if the fear of dropping the body is conquered, there's nothing more to fear in the world, actually. There's nothing more to fear. What is there to fear? Nobody can touch you if that fear is not there, right? So this is what Bhagavan is saying. Now, undoubtedly, like in anything, the repeated practice is needed, right? But at least first we conceptually. So conceptually we anchor ourselves, right? Intellectually, does this make sense? So you ask yourself, yes, intellectually this makes sense. This is what Bhagavan has said. It accords with all the various parts of our scripture. And so I have faith in this. I have Shraddha in this. Then you practice in the laboratory of your own body, of your own mind. And then you slowly see for yourself, does the evidence match up with the theory? Does the data from the experiment correspond to the theoretical predictions? Right? And then you see some discrepancy maybe. So then you say, here is a doubt. Maybe I can clarify this. So then you ask whatever question that comes to mind. Slowly, the experiment data and the theory start to match. If it matches even 1 point, then you say, at least this much I can say. I did some meditation, my mind was peaceful, and my life is going more successfully. Right? So then maybe by extrapolation, the other data points will also match. Right? That's all it is. I mean, after all, this is how we do our science too, right? Yeah. How a theory is as good as the last data set that it predicted, right? Yeah. So classical mechanics was perfectly adequate until we started exploring subatomic particles and very large masses. If these two things are not involved, classical mechanics is an adequate theory. Right? So even in the spirit of logic and reason, which there is no reason to abandon, right? So what I've told you has nothing to do with miracles, right? Do you agree? If your rational mind doesn't like miracles, which my rational mind also doesn't like miracles, right? There's no problem. Yeah. You don't have to believe in miracles necessarily. If you believe, that's good. Miracles serve to only increase your faith. If you have that faith, it's just another means. If you want it, you can have that. If you don't want it, you're very logical, rational, you can still have faith. They're not contradictory, right? But you have to then do the experiments, right? If you're a doubting Thomas, so which is important, right? That we all have a rational part of our mind, right? Nobody is, in this century, this day and age, is very difficult to find people who have, and it would also, it's also a little inconsistent if I don't believe in rationality. Then if you don't believe in rationality, you shouldn't turn on your coffee maker and expect it to make coffee. You shouldn't run the dishwasher and expect it to do the dishes. You shouldn't run your because what nonsense. That is built on principles of science. If you don't believe rationally, then you shouldn't use it. Correct? Yeah. By the very act of using it, you are expressing a faith in its rationality. Right? Wouldn't you agree? When you pick up the cell phone and use it, you are expressing a faith. So somebody who does all this and then says, I have no faith in science, you cannot have any respect for them because they are not thought this through. They're being inconsistent. Yes or no? Right? The beauty of our Hindu philosophy is, and particularly that of Advaita, as expounded by Shankara, is it does not require you to believe in miracles. And that is why it is particularly appealing to this generation. Right? Right? If you go to most other um, religions, they don't have this philosophical framework. Okay, you have to believe in something that requires you to suspend your rationality, right? And what our technique says is hold on to rationality, push it as far as you can, right? Then see where it ends, right? And then you come back and say what you want to say, right? This is the beauty and power of our Hindu philosophy, religion, and the Vedic insights that our rishis have given us. So, Vigatabhi, Brahmachari Vrate Sthita. This, of course, to avoid dissipation of energy, because I already talked about Mooladhara Chakra. Then there is Swadhisthana Chakra. In Swadhisthana Chakra is the locus of both from the Karmendriyas, it is organ of procreation, which undoubtedly has its place and purpose in a certain dharmas of the Grihastha Dharma, and for Praja, this has its place. But in the path of the yogi, this is a dissipative energy. Another way to think again is, if one wants to go beyond Svargalok, then these lower three chakras have to be transcended. The energy has to rise above, right? And that's what I was saying about Jata Veda and Kravyadam Agni, right? Jata Veda is the energy that will take us up, right? So, Vrate Sthitaha, Manas Samyamya, having controlled the mind, Mat Chitto, and thoughts anchored in me, Yukta Asita Mat Pragyan, as I said, Bhagavan as a concept, as a God, as a Saguna Brahman is very powerful because it helps the mind transcend the temporal. Right? If the mind is not given something to hook onto, its nature, yogic science teaches us that it will constantly scatter. You know, when I gave the example of the paper and the magnifying glass, right? Magnifying glass has a focal point on the paper, right? You have to adjust. That focal point is God. God is a useful focal point, right? Because of God's characteristics. God's characteristics: omnipresent, omniscient, eternal, transcendent, and immanent. Think of these four properties, correct? So focusing on such an object is very powerful. And that's what Bhagavan Sri Krishna is saying in most beautiful, simple way, that yoke your thoughts and sit intent on me. Acha. So now Bhagavan Sri Shankaracharya has some additional concept which is very nice, which I did not touch on. Let us investigate them. Brahmachari vrate sthitaha, brahmacharino vratam, brahmachari vratam, brahmacharyam, guru sushrushabhi, shushrusa, bhikshana bhuktyadi, tasmin sthitaha. So, waiting upon the teacher, eating the food collected as bhiksha through mendicancy, etc. Tasmin sthitaha. Let him stay. Tad anushthatha bhavet ityarthaha. Now, this is difficult for people in Grihastha ashram to follow, correct? Because in the sense of seeking bhiksha, this is not the state of Grihasthis. Right? Therefore, for the period in which one is involved in the samsaric life, that part cannot be respected. Right? Nevertheless, the preceding parts, to the extent possible, can be cultivated. Right? Definitely, one can practice brahmacharya, vow of chastity, to the extent possible. Definitely, again, one can listen to the teacher's words maximum that can be implied, but this bhiksha business can not be implemented in a practical sense at this stage. So one has to take it as a provisional step, because then from the brahmacharya grihastha, Then when the vanaprastha and sannyasa ashrams come, depending on the person's stage in life, those will be easier to implement, right? So this is the idea. This was, of course, written in a time when people were following these things, of course, more diligently. But one has to be practical, that in today's day and age, what is possible only one can do and expect, right? We cannot be unrealistic in those expectations. So main thing is to keep trying with sincere attitude. So atha idanim yoga phalam uchyate yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi nityamanasah shantim nirvana paramam mat samstham adhigacchati. Yunjan, that is having yoked, applying, evam, in this way, sadatmanam, always. Yogi niyata manasa, yogi with a disciplined mind. Shantim nirvana paramam, peace, yogi wins peace, which is mat samstha, abiding in me, and the climax is emancipation. Nirvana paramam is adhigacchati, attains that ultimate liberation. So the discipline of peace, this shantim, has nirvana or emancipation as its climax. So shantim uparatim nirvana paramam nirvana mokshaha tat parama nishtha yasyaha shantehe sa nirvana parama tam nirvana paramam mat samstham mat adhinam adhigacchati prapnoti, attains. So fruits of this effort have been described. So you see, obviously, Bhagavan in scarce 5 verses has summarized the essence of our, what is there in, say, Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Yoga Sutra, correct? But this is Bhagavan's skill. He's, after all, Yogeshwara, right? An ability to summarize in 5 verses what is there in 2 texts. Right? So that ability is divine. There's no other word for it. Right? That's why it is so fruitful to study the prasthAnatrayI, of which Bhagavad Gita is a part. More than, I feel, even, I mean, of course, one listens to contemporary masters and others, you can get insight and benefit from many, but there is nothing compared to the study of the sacred texts, because even if the messenger may have some mistakes, the message doesn't have any mistakes. So 6:14. Any questions on this 5 verse summary of yoga?
Dr. Shankar, I have a question.
Sure, Shalabh.
In the 13th shlok, where you talk about concentrating the inner eye, because the outer eye is obviously closed, right? So we're not talking about the outer eye.
Right.
It's about Nasikagram. So many people tend to concentrate on the Agnya Chakra or different spots in the body. So is it contradicting that, or?
Not really. So this, what the inner eye, when it is purified, is able to see is actually the pranic body. Okay, just like when we open our eyes, we say, "Oh, this is my nose." You look in a mirror, you say, "This is who I am." You can see many parts of your body without a mirror. Some parts you need a mirror, right? Correct. But there is another body of ours, which is our pranic body, right? Which currently the mind cannot see because it is very clouded. Okay, just as a clouded mirror or a distorted mirror or a mirror in which the back of the mirror, when the silver, in the old days they used to have silver coating, right? I think some sort of Yeah. When that, remember, when it rusts and gets spotted, you cannot see very clearly in it, right? Correct. So the externally oriented mind cannot see the pranic body in this way because it is too scattered, right? Now, in optics, we have this notion of different kinds of light, right? So there is monochromatic, one frequency. Then you have polychromatic. Like normal light we see is polychromatic, right? And then we have lasers, right? Which are tuned, right? In a particular way, at a particular frequency, right? Right. So with that laser, you can interrogate materials, right? Can you not? How do we discover the internal structure through X-rays, for example? Different rays, different kinds of vibrations. So you can see different things with X-rays, but if you change the frequency of that vibration, you can interrogate material at a different scale, right? Is this yes or no? Science tells us this. So similarly, the mind is like that. If you change its frequency, you can interrogate the world experience at different levels, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you look with optical light, you cannot see the bone, right?
Yeah.
But if you change the frequency of that ray to be X-ray, then you see the bone clearly, yes or no? Right? So if you change the frequency of your mind's thinking to the right frequency, your pranic body, right? So what Bhagavan is saying is, when you turn the mind inward, this is a good point at which to focus, which you think is the front of your nose, which will stimulate that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Shankar, a follow-up question on that.
Surely.
So the frequency of the mind, right? The like concentration level, it is like a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a black and white, yes or no, or there a threshold like, okay, so this much need to be concentrated, this much need to be transcended with a concentrated mind, then that can perceive. Subtle.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So I would say that it is a continuum. Okay, in a sense, in the following sense. So there are 5 koshas. So right now we were talking about Annamaya and Pranamaya, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we attain a certain level of, let's say this analogy of the mirror. So first we cleanse it to some extent, you're able to see Pranamaya kosha, right? One shouldn't be satisfied with that. Because remember the parable of Sri Ramakrishna, of the woodcutter who went and he found a sandal grove. So then the guru told him, no, keep going further. Then he found, I think if I remember the parable as it goes, a silver mine, then a copper mine, silver mine, gold mine, diamonds.
Yep, I remember that.
Remember that? Yeah. So similarly, that is meant to just say that don't stop at this pranamaya kosha. Then you purify more. But it is a continuum, right? Until the point which they call bindu, right? The bindu is the portal, right? Once that there, it is a transformative event. So this is where Swami Rama says, the fool goes to sleep. When he wakes up, he's still a fool, right? The fool goes into meditation, pierces the bindu and comes out a sage. This is an irreversible event, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the process to reach that irreversible point is a continuum.
Mm-hmm. So the bindu stage is that is that point you see the marriage of Shiva and Shakti and crossing the Sahasra Chakra. Is that what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then one other thing, to concentrate the mind. Yes, we understand all these protocols, like how to do, what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, so like in addition to the intense longing, to transcend this nama rupa state. So sometime I think the masan vairagya, when you start sitting the meditation, like you mentioned earlier, in the whole macrocosm, this is like nothing. If we have that in my mind, including masan vairagya, would that be helpful? Sometimes I wonder.
The truth is, I honestly don't think anyone in this satsang or otherwise is doing anything wrong. Right? Do you see what I mean?
Right. Yep. In some way, we're going towards that.
Yeah. You are there already. The only thing is for the conviction that you're there to become deeper. Right?
Right. Yeah.
No? There are the mind is playing tricks regularly, telling you that, diverting. Right? It just has to be told. Okay, don't divert now. Right? And then slowly as it is trained, it becomes, and there is also this other point, which is, I think, worthwhile. In the beginning, the mind seems like this, like a giant monster that you're always fighting. It rules you, right? Through practice of meditation, it will become like a mouse, right? Then if you tell it, stop it, it will stop it, right? But you have to get it to that point, right? How can the same thing be a monster and a mouse? That is the Devi's play, right? Therefore, that's why surrendering to her, today being Shukla Ashtami, by the way, which is a very beautiful day for meditation, Devi's grace is abundant, right? So, in my humble opinion, surrendering to her is the first and fastest way. In all matters related to yoga. As Supreme Goddess, she is the one who can make that monster into a mouse. And actually, the analogy I gave is unanticipatedly, the symbolism of Ganesh becomes clear to you. For him, the mouse is his mind. Okay? That's why he is completely sitting on it. Right? For us, the mind is a giant monster. Right? Maybe it comes as a buffalo. Then you need Mahishasura Mardini to kill the buffalo. Right? Then it'll become a mouse.
So right now it is more like a Rakta Beej. It keeps sprouting.
That's also true, right? And again, the analogy you brought is very beautiful because again, it's only through Devi's grace, right? That and there again is how the beautiful stories, by stories we reinforce these concepts through allegory, analogy. So any other comments, questions on today's reading? We are, I think, now at 16. Right. Now will come the regulation of yogi's diet, etc. Etc. Right. How are you all doing? Hello, Ameya. Last time I didn't get to chat with you. How are you doing?
Hello, Dr. Shankar. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Yeah. Are you still in Ames?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Very good. And you're able to work from home?
So right now I don't have any internship or anything. So just doing my coursework.
Okay. You're taking summer courses?
Yes, I am.
Achha. And that is all online?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. But I think you need only one to actually.
Gayatri mantra is just a part of the Sandhya Vandanam.
Yes, right. Now in Gayatri mantra, in Sandhya Vandanam, what we do is we do the invocation of the Rishi, but there the Anganyasa Karanyasa is not as detailed, right? I just brought up the idea of Digbandha, which is done a little more detail in, say, something like Surya Namaskar mantra, right? To give you that. But I'm sure even in Aditya Hridaya mantra, when it is properly done, that will come in sequence. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what's the best way to convey that. Let me think about it and get back to you.
Sure.
Right. So you wanted the details of how exactly it is done in a particular mantra?
Right. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. That's not hard to, I can give you an example.
Thank you. Sure.
Sure. Any other questions, comments? Sure. Okay, if not, then we will plan on meeting in a week, which will be, I guess,
June
6th, huh? Right. Closer to Purnima this time. So have a lovely intervening week, rest of your weekend, everyone. And I'll say our Shanti Mantram before we close. Om Tachamyora Vrinimahe Gatum Yajnayam Gatum Yajnapataye Daivi Swastirastunaham Swastirmanushabhyaham Urdhvam Jigatu Bheshajam Shanno Astu Dvipadehe Sham Chatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, everyone. Have a lovely week. See you soon.